And on that note, let me welcome the former ISRO scientist, Dr. CM Nagrani, who's joining me on the broadcast. Dr. Nagrani, thank you so much for joining us on Republic here on this Saturday afternoon. Sir, if we could speak to you about these 36 satellites that have been launched by ISRO, how do you see it? How do you perceive it? And how much of a great achievement is it for our country?
It is like this, that GSLV Mark III or LVM Mark III, what we call now, it was the fourth flight of the heaviest launch vehicle of ISRO, fourth full-fledged flight, really fifth, because the first flight was the experimental flight, and that flight went successfully. All 5 flights have gone successfully, and it is a big achievement because this is the first time that we have used GSLV for 2 things. One is that we are launching 36 commercial satellites. It has never launched before commercial satellites. We have launched our own satellites. We have launched our Chandrayaan, and all those are launched in a different orbit. While these 36 satellites we have to launch, so sequencing of those satellites, how the commands go from the launcher, and the orbits are also different. This was a 600-kilometer circular orbit, going from pole to pole. So that was an altogether different orbit that we have launched it in, and it has been perfect launch, and all satellites were released in time. So this is a big achievement for India.
Well, absolutely, sir. You put it very rightly that this is a big achievement for India, and of course a huge step in the Make in India procedure, the Atmanirbharta philosophy as well that we see now. But if you could also walk us through the kind of planning that it must have taken for such a huge exercise to have taken place with 36 satellites being launched at the same time. If you could walk us through the procedure of this, and also what it really means on a global perspective for India to have achieved this.
It is like this, that when we launched, we got a contract for, NSIL got the contract to launch the satellites, because what was happening is the OneWeb was launching their satellites using Soyuz, but because of the situation in Ukraine, this was not possible for them, because they were launching, I think, through Ariane, and it was not now possible to launch through Soyuz these satellites, because Soyuz is a Russian satellite. So the Russian launch vehicle. So you cannot launch using those vehicles. There were some issues. So I'm not fully aware of that. What was the issue? So they came to us and they requested Indian government that whether they can do. And we have so far not launched using this vehicle. We have used the PSLV, but PSLV cannot take this load of 6,000 kg, that is 6 ton almost. It was 5.8 ton of the weight of all 36 satellites plus its separator, whatever mechanism was that. So this was the first time, and we said yes. And so we started preparing for that. And it has 2 big solid rockets, that S-200. So each of them contains 200 ton of the propellant. Solid propellant, and such in the side you will see 2 boosters. So those 2 boosters were to be prepared. Then we have L-110 stage, that is the second stage, which is a liquid stage. Of course, it uses 2 Vikas engines. We have used that earlier. And then the final we have C-25 stage. That C-25 is a cryo stage, because finally when you are launching a satellite, you have to not only take it to a required height. So in this case, it was 600 kilometer circular orbit at an inclination of 87.4 degree with respect to the equatorial plane. So you have to put in that plane. You cannot just put the satellite there and your job is done. What you have to do is that you have to give a correct velocity so that it remains in that orbit. And for that, we use our final stage, that is cryo stage, C-20 engine. And that C-20 engine is a cryogenic engine which has been completely indigenously developed by ISRO. So that was the fourth flight of that engine. We have this was the GSLV, as I said, this was the 5th flight, but the first flight was experimental flight, and that did not have the cryogenic engine. And all the 4 times consecutively, this has worked. So we have another advantage. The thing is that the same launch vehicle we are going to use with certain modification or after main rating for our Gaganyaan. So we also have got, not only we have boosted our prestige, but we also have got more confidence now with the successful, almost textbook type of launch of this vehicle.
Well, absolutely, Dr. Nagrani, thank you so much for sharing your expert knowledge on this entire matter and, of course, sharing with us the technical perspective of the 36 satellites that have been launched. A great feat by ISRO that has been achieved and a great feat for our country as well. Thank you, Dr. Nagrani, for joining us on the broadcast.